While modern gardeners spend hundreds on fertilizers and still get declining harvests, Amish families feed themselves year-round using methods that cost almost nothing. Their gardens stay productive for decades, getting better each year while eliminating expensive chemicals and equipment. Walk into any garden center and you'll find shelves packed with colorful bags promising miracle growth. $20 here, $30 there, and before you know it, you've spent your grocery money on plant food. Meanwhile, somewhere in rural America, an Amish farmer is shoveling what most people consider waste into his garden and getting results that would make commercial growers weep with envy. Fresh horse manure contains 50% more nitrogen than those fancy store-bought fertilizers. That's not marketing nonsense, that's pure chemistry. While gardeners read ingredient labels trying to pronounce chemicals that sound like they belong in a chemistry textbook, horse manure delivers everything plants crave in a package they actually understand. Here's where it gets interesting. A single horse produces 35 to 50 pounds of this garden gold every single day. That's roughly 18 tons per year from one animal. Compare that to the average American gardener who spends $300 to $500 annually on synthetic fertilizers. And suddenly keeping a horse doesn't sound so expensive after all. But here's what the fertilizer companies don't want anyone to know. Their products feed plants, but they starve soil. Chemical fertilizers are like fast food for vegetables. They provide quick energy, but leave the soil weaker over time. Horse manure works completely differently. It feeds the plants while building up the soil structure, creating tiny air pockets that help roots breathe and water move freely. The microorganisms in soil absolutely love horse manure. These tiny creatures break down organic matter and create nutrients that plants can absorb slowly over time. Turns out even bacteria have better taste than to prefer synthetic chemicals over the real thing. It's like having a 24-hour buffet instead of 3 rushed meals. Chemical fertilizers hit plants with a massive dose all at once, then disappear, leaving plants hungry again in a few weeks. Fresh horse manure also contains something no factory can replicate: beneficial bacteria that actually protect plants from disease. These microscopic bodyguards live in healthy soil and fight off harmful organisms before they can damage crops. Synthetic fertilizers not only fail to provide this protection, they often kill off these helpful bacteria entirely. The Amish figured this out generations ago through simple observation. Their gardens don't just survive season after season, they get more productive with age. While modern gardens often decline after 3 to 5 years of chemical treatment, Amish plots using horse manure maintain their fertility for decades. Some family gardens have been producing abundant harvests for over a century, using nothing but what their horses provide naturally. However, having the best fertilizer in the world means nothing if it gets wasted on the wrong plants, in the wrong places, at the wrong time. Most gardeners plant the same vegetables in the same spots year after year, then wonder why their harvests get smaller and their plants get sicker. It's like eating pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, then being surprised when your health starts declining. The Amish avoid this trap entirely through a simple 4-year rotation that keeps their soil healthy and their harvests abundant. The pattern follows nature's own design: corn the first year, beans the second, squash the third, then letting the land rest during the fourth. Each crop prepares the soil for the next one in ways that seem almost magical but are actually based on solid science. Corn is a heavy feeder that pulls lots of nitrogen from the soil. After harvest, the soil appears depleted, but that's exactly what beans need. Beans belong to a special family of plants called legumes that actually create nitrogen instead of using it up. Tiny bacteria living on bean roots capture nitrogen straight from the air and store it in the soil. When the bean plants die, they release all that nitrogen back into the ground, creating perfect conditions for the next crop. Squash comes third because it spreads across the ground with huge leaves that shade out weeds. Apparently, squash plants missed the memo about sharing space nicely. These aggressive vines also have deep roots that break up compacted soil and bring nutrients from deep underground to the surface. After a year of squash coverage, the soil structure improves dramatically. The 4th year brings the most important part: rest. No crops get planted, but the land doesn't sit empty. Cover crops like clover or ryegrass grow instead, adding organic matter and preventing erosion. This rest year allows beneficial insects to establish homes and soil organisms to rebuild their populations. This rotation prevents the disease buildup that destroys gardens using the same planting spots repeatedly. Plant diseases are like bullies in school. They pick on the same victims over and over. When their favorite host plants disappear for 3 years, these diseases can't survive and eventually die out completely. The science behind this system is remarkable. Each crop leaves behind different root structures, different organic matter, and different soil conditions. Corn roots grow deep and straight, beans create nitrogen-rich nodules, and squash spreads nutrients horizontally. This diversity keeps soil healthy in ways that single-crop farming never could. Gardens following this rotation maintain productivity for decades instead of declining after just a few years. Some Amish families have been using the same garden plots for over 50 years with no decrease in harvest quality or quantity. But even the best soil management means nothing without proper timing for planting and harvesting. The only product we'll ever promote on our channel is a book by Claude Davis, a veteran prepper, about 126 superfoods and preservation methods from crisis times like the Great Depression and wartime that are impossible to find elsewhere. We decided to promote his book because we are the last generation able to share these techniques and superfoods to our children or grandchildren. It would be a shame to see this information about highly nutritious foods and preservation methods to survive crises disappear. You can also find a book about herbal remedies from Nicole Apelian on their store. If you're watching this on TV, you can look up our channel, Frugal Solutions, on your phone or tablet and find the books by clicking the link in our channel description or any other video description. Science says it's nonsense. The Amish say their great-great-grandparents' harvests prove otherwise. For over 300 years, these communities have planted according to moon phases, and their results speak louder than any laboratory study. Root vegetables like carrots, potatoes, and beets get planted during the new moon when the satellite is completely dark. During this phase, gravitational pull draws moisture deeper into the soil, encouraging roots to grow downward in search of water. Gardens following this timing show 15 to 20% higher yields compared to random planting schedules. The science behind this isn't as crazy as it sounds. The same gravitational forces that move entire oceans twice daily also affect the moisture in soil. During new moon phases, water moves deeper underground, creating ideal conditions for root development. Plants respond by sending their roots further down, creating stronger, more drought-resistant vegetables. Above-ground crops like lettuce, spinach, and herbs get planted during the waxing moon when it grows from new to full. As lunar brightness increases, seeds germinate 25% faster than those planted at random times. The increasing light seems to trigger growth hormones in seeds, much like how longer spring days wake plants from winter dormancy. Turns out vegetables are just like teenagers. They need the right lighting conditions to get out of bed. At least, plants don't complain about having to wake up early. The moon's brightness during germination affects how quickly seedlings establish themselves, with waxing moon plantings developing stronger stems and larger first leaves. Harvest timing follows the same principles. Root vegetables pulled during waning moon phases store longer without spoiling because lower soil moisture creates denser, less watery produce. Leafy greens harvested during full moon contain higher water content, making them crispier but requiring faster consumption. The gravitational effects are measurable. Soil moisture levels fluctuate by up to 8% between new and full moon phases, creating distinctly different growing conditions throughout each month. Plants evolved over millions of years under these regular cycles, so it makes sense they would respond to predictable changes. Modern agriculture dismissed these practices as superstition, but recent studies are finding correlations between lunar cycles and plant growth that researchers can't easily explain away. The Amish never needed scientific validation. Their consistently abundant harvests provided all the proof they required. Perfect timing and gravitational forces create the foundation, but without the right materials, even the best-timed seeds will struggle to reach their potential. The average backyard compost pile sits there for a year or more, slowly rotting into something that resembles soil. Amish composting operates on an entirely different level, transforming kitchen scraps and garden waste into black gold in just 3 to 4 months through precise temperature control. Their secret weapon? Heat. Serious heat, Properly built Amish compost piles reach temperatures between 140 and 160 degrees, hot enough to kill every weed seed, harmful bacteria, and plant disease that tries to hitchhike through the decomposition process. Most backyard piles never exceed 100 degrees, which means they're basically creating a luxury resort for everything gardeners want to eliminate. Temperature control comes from getting the ratios exactly right. 30 parts brown material like dried leaves, straw, or shredded paper to 1 part green material like kitchen scraps, fresh grass clippings, or manure. Get this ratio wrong and the pile either won't heat up enough or will smell like something died in it. At these temperatures, the compost pile is hotter than most people keep their house in winter. Maybe the vegetables are just trying to stay warm too. The high temperatures serve multiple purposes beyond sterilization. Intense heat breaks down tough plant fibers that would otherwise take years to decompose. Woody stems, thick vegetable peels, and even small branches get transformed into usable compost instead of sitting unchanged for seasons. Oxygen plays a crucial role in maintaining these temperatures. Amish composters turn their piles weekly, adding air that feeds the bacteria responsible for generating heat. Without regular turning, the pile goes anaerobic, temperatures drop, and the whole process slows to a crawl while producing terrible odors. The finished product replaces expensive commercial soil amendments. 1 cubic yard of properly made compost contains the same nutrients as $200 worth of store-bought soil conditioners, fertilizers, and organic matter. A single family typically produces enough compost annually to amend their entire garden without spending a penny on soil improvement. This method also eliminates the pest problems that plague slower composting systems. Flies, rodents, and other unwanted visitors avoid the high heat zones, keeping the composting area clean and odor-free. The transformation from waste to wealth happens faster than most people believe possible, creating the foundation for something even more valuable than perfect soil. Every spring, millions of gardeners head to stores and buy packets of hybrid seeds promising bigger yields and disease resistance. Meanwhile, Amish families reach into jars filled with seeds their great-grandmothers saved, planting varieties that have been adapting to their specific soil and climate for 8 to 10 generations. These aren't just any old seeds. Each variety has been naturally selected for traits that work best in that exact location. Plants that couldn't handle the local weather died out decades ago. The survivors passed on genes for drought tolerance, disease resistance, and soil compatibility that no laboratory can replicate. Commercial hybrid seeds might produce impressive results in perfect greenhouse conditions, but they struggle in real-world gardens. They're bred for uniformity and shipping, not for surviving harsh weather or poor soil. Heirloom varieties, on the other hand, have been battle-tested by decades of unpredictable seasons. The financial benefits add up quickly. Seed saving eliminates the annual expense of buying new packets, which can cost anywhere from $150 to $300 for a full garden. A single tomato plant can produce hundreds of seeds, enough to supply the family garden for years. Store-bought seeds are like expensive tourists visiting for one season, while heirloom seeds are the old-timers who know where everything is and never ask for directions. They've been living in the neighborhood so long they probably remember when the mailbox was installed. More importantly, plants grown from saved seeds consistently outperform their store-bought cousins. They germinate faster, grow stronger root systems, and produce harvests that last longer in storage. The genetic memory embedded in these seeds remembers exactly what conditions they'll face and how to thrive despite challenges. Seed saving also preserves varieties that commercial companies have abandoned. Many heirloom vegetables offer flavors and textures completely unavailable in modern stores. Some tomato varieties saved by Amish families haven't been sold commercially for over 50 years, yet they still produce superior crops adapted to local growing conditions. The process creates a continuous cycle of improvement. Each year, seeds from the best-performing plants get saved for next season, gradually creating varieties perfectly matched to local conditions. After several generations, these plants become so well adapted they can thrive in situations that would kill commercial varieties. These perfectly adapted plants, however, still depend entirely on how they receive their water supply. Water your plants every day and they'll die. Skip watering for a week and they'll die. Most gardeners live in constant fear of getting this balance wrong, Yet Amish families water their gardens just twice weekly and achieve healthier plants than daily waterers manage. Deep watering twice per week forces roots to grow downward, searching for moisture. This creates drought-resistant plants with extensive root systems that can survive dry spells. Daily shallow watering does the opposite, encouraging roots to stay near the surface where they remain vulnerable to heat and drought. The difference shows up in plant health statistics. Deep-watered plants demonstrate 40% better survival rates during hot weather compared to those receiving frequent shallow drinks. Their deeper roots access nutrients and moisture that surface-fed plants never reach. Gravity-fed irrigation systems conserve 60% more water than standard sprinkler setups. These simple systems use elevated tanks or barrels to deliver water directly to plant roots through buried hoses or channels. No electricity, no pumps, just physics doing the work. Ground-level watering reduces plant diseases by 75% compared to overhead sprinklers. Wet leaves become breeding grounds for fungal infections, bacterial problems, and pest infestations. Plants prefer their water served at ground level, much like how sensible people prefer their coffee in a cup rather than poured over their heads. Water delivered at soil level keeps foliage dry while ensuring roots get adequate moisture. Early morning watering between 6 and 8 prevents 50% of water loss through evaporation. Late afternoon watering loses most of its moisture to afternoon heat before plants can absorb it effectively. The timing also affects plant metabolism. Morning watering gives plants all day to process nutrients dissolved in the water. Evening watering can promote fungal growth since wet soil stays damp overnight in cool temperatures. Amish water management relies on observation rather than schedules. Soil moisture gets tested by hand at root depth, not surface appearance. A garden might look dry on top while retaining adequate moisture 2 inches down where roots actually feed. Water storage systems capture rainwater for use during dry periods. Simple collection methods can gather hundreds of gallons from a single storm, providing weeks of irrigation without touching municipal supplies or well water. This efficient water use creates ideal growing conditions, but proper watering means nothing if growing on a large scale without protection. Running a large garden alone feels like fighting a war on multiple fronts. The Amish discovered long ago that shared labor turns overwhelming tasks into manageable community events that actually strengthen relationships while getting work done faster. Coordinated planting days bring together multiple families to tackle major garden preparation in a single weekend. What would take one family weeks to accomplish gets finished in hours when 8 or 10 people work together. These events follow careful planning, with each family contributing specific tools, seeds, or expertise to the collective effort. The knowledge sharing prevents costly mistakes that destroy entire seasons of work. When one family discovers a new pest problem or successful growing technique, that information spreads quickly through the community. Community gardens work like old-fashioned telephone networks. One person learns that slugs hate coffee grounds, and by evening, everyone's dumping yesterday's coffee around their lettuce. The only difference is nobody gets charged long-distance rates for sharing vegetable wisdom. Collective problem-solving creates solutions no individual could develop alone. When unusual weather patterns or new diseases threaten crops, multiple families pool their experience to find effective responses. 5 different approaches to the same problem usually yield at least one successful solution that everyone can adopt. Community preservation sessions produce 300 to 500 jars per family annually through coordinated canning and food processing. Large-scale preservation requires specialized equipment and knowledge that individual families might not possess. Working together allows access to pressure canners, large cooking vessels, and experienced guidance that ensures safe, long-lasting food storage. The group sessions also standardize preservation techniques, ensuring consistent quality across all families. Recipe sharing means everyone benefits from the best methods for each type of produce, whether it's perfect pickle brine or the ideal seasoning blend for canned vegetables. Shared labor extends beyond planting and harvesting into garden maintenance throughout the growing season. Weeding parties, irrigation system repairs, and pest control efforts become social events that accomplish necessary work while maintaining community bonds. The economic benefits multiply across the entire group. Bulk seed purchases, shared tool ownership, and coordinated equipment maintenance reduce individual costs while improving everyone's access to quality supplies. A single expensive tool like a rototiller or large wheelbarrow serves multiple families instead of sitting unused in one garage. This community approach creates gardens that thrive despite challenges that would overwhelm individual efforts, but success still depends on keeping destructive pests away from precious crops. Chemical pesticides create a battlefield in gardens where everything dies except the strongest pests. Amish gardeners take the opposite approach, using strategic plant partnerships that eliminate 85% of pest problems without killing anything beneficial. Marigolds planted throughout vegetable rows release chemicals that repel nematodes, aphids, and whiteflies. These bright flowers aren't just decorative. They're biological pest control systems that work around the clock. Their roots release compounds into the soil that kill harmful microscopic worms before they can damage vegetable roots. Basil planted near tomatoes doesn't just make good cooking sense. The aromatic oils in basil leaves confuse and repel hornworms, the green caterpillars that can strip tomato plants bare overnight. The scent also improves tomato flavor, creating a win-win situation that commercial farmers have largely ignored. Nasturtiums serve as trap crops, attracting cucumber beetles and squash bugs away from valuable vegetables. These sacrificial plants draw pests like magnets, making them easy to remove before they spread to the main crops. Nasturtiums are basically the decoy ducks of the vegetable world, except they taste better in salads. Row covers made from lightweight fabric provide physical barriers against flying insects during critical growing periods. These simple cloth tunnels allow light and water through while keeping pests out during the vulnerable seedling stage. Once plants mature enough to handle pest pressure, the covers come off. Beneficial insects need habitat to establish permanent populations in gardens. Flower strips planted between vegetable rows provide nectar for pest-eating insects like ladybugs, lacewings, and parasitic wasps. These predator insects consume thousands of harmful pests throughout the growing season without any human intervention. The timing of beneficial insect releases matches pest life cycles perfectly. Ladybugs introduced just as aphid populations begin growing can prevent infestations before they become serious problems. Natural predators work more effectively than chemicals because they specifically target pest species while leaving beneficial insects unharmed. Companion planting creates complex ecosystems that confuse pest insects while supporting beneficial ones. Mixed plantings make it harder for specialized pests to locate their preferred host plants, disrupting their breeding cycles and reducing overall damage. However, even the most pest-resistant gardens need protection from weather extremes to maintain consistent production throughout unpredictable seasons. Spring arrives when it wants to, not when the calendar says it should. Amish families refuse to let unpredictable weather dictate their growing seasons, using simple techniques that extend harvests 6 to 8 weeks beyond what nature intended. Cold frames built from salvaged windows and scrap lumber create mini greenhouses that protect crops from frost while capturing solar heat. These angled boxes trap warm air during sunny days and release it slowly through cold nights, maintaining temperatures 15 to 20 degrees warmer than outside air. The construction costs practically nothing since most materials come from old buildings, broken windows, or discarded lumber. A cold frame that protects 20 square feet of growing space can be built for under $30, yet it provides the same protection as a greenhouse costing hundreds. Succession planting schedules ensure continuous harvests from early spring through late fall. Instead of planting entire crops at once, small amounts get planted every 2 weeks. This staggers maturity dates, providing fresh vegetables throughout the growing season rather than overwhelming harvests that spoil before they can be used. Cold frames are like retirement homes for vegetables. They get to live longer in a warmer, more comfortable environment. The only difference is the vegetables actually enjoy being there. The extended growing season allows cool weather crops like lettuce, spinach, and radishes to produce through winter months when outdoor growing becomes impossible. Root cellars maintain optimal storage temperatures without electricity, preserving harvested vegetables for months. These underground spaces naturally stay between 32 and 40 degrees, perfect for storing root vegetables, cabbages, and apples through winter. Proper ventilation prevents moisture buildup that causes spoilage. Indoor seedling cultivation gives warm season crops significant growing advantages. Starting tomatoes, peppers, and herbs indoors during late winter allows transplanting of mature plants once outdoor conditions become suitable. This head start can add 4 to 6 weeks to the productive season. The timing coordination between cold frames, succession planting, and indoor starting creates year-round food production that most people believe requires expensive greenhouse facilities. Simple techniques achieve the same results using materials that cost less than a week's grocery budget. These season extension methods work best when combined with soil management practices that maintain fertility and structure throughout extended growing periods. Every year, modern gardens get weaker. Chemical fertilizers strip away beneficial organisms, heavy machinery compacts the earth, and constant tilling destroys soil structure. Amish gardens move in the opposite direction, becoming more fertile and productive with each passing season. Annual soil testing reveals exactly what nutrients each garden area needs instead of guessing with generic fertilizers. Simple test kits measure nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and pH levels, allowing precise additions of only what the soil lacks. This targeted approach costs less than blanket fertilizing while achieving better results. Cover crops planted each fall work like green blankets that feed the soil through winter. Crimson clover, winter rye, and hairy vetch grow during cold months when gardens normally sit empty. These plants capture nitrogen from the air and store it in their roots, then release it slowly as they decompose in spring. The root systems of cover crops break up compacted soil better than any machine. Deep tap roots create channels for water and air movement, while fine feeder roots add organic matter throughout the soil profile. When these plants die, they leave behind a network of tunnels that improve drainage and root penetration. No-till cultivation preserves the beneficial soil organisms that conventional farming destroys. Each time soil gets turned, millions of helpful bacteria, fungi, and earthworms die. Tilling soil is like rearranging the furniture in a house by dropping it from an airplane. Everything gets mixed up, but nothing ends up where it belongs. No-till methods maintain these underground communities that create natural fertility. Organic matter content increases 2 to 3% annually using these methods, transforming poor soil into rich growing medium within a few years. Each percentage point of organic matter allows soil to hold 20,000 more gallons of water per acre, creating natural drought resistance. The earthworm populations explode in untilled, organically managed soil. These beneficial creatures process organic matter and create nutrient-rich castings that plants absorb easily. Healthy soil contains up to 1 million earthworms per acre, each one producing its own weight in valuable fertilizer every single day. The cumulative effect creates soil that gets better with age instead of wearing out. Gardens that started with poor, rocky ground become dark, rich growing medium that produces abundant harvests with minimal inputs. The Amish approach proves that abundance comes from working with nature instead of against it. While modern agriculture fights the natural world and loses, Amish gardeners partner with it and win.